1996. Stephen Pearl was 7. Mike Burgomaster was 2. Chad Pruitt was in his 2nd year of coaching high school basketball. Ira Bowman was a player at Penn. Bill Clinton was president. Monica was still his intern. Gas was $1.22. And that was the last time that we beat Florida at Florida. That's a long, long time ago. It tells you a little bit about the history of Florida basketball, right? It's as much a compliment to Florida basketball as it is anything, really. I mean, I've not been able to go down there and beat them at Auburn. And so it's a monumental task. I have thought, and I still think, that Florida is a sleeper. I said it pretty early on, not just because Todd Golden was my dear friend and former assistant, and I think they know it too. They've already played Kentucky twice. They've already been to Tennessee. And we only got a 2-game lead on them right now, and obviously if we only play them once, it's their place this year. They're in it, you know. This will be, like I had said about Alabama, and I don't know where Todd has, what he's talked about publicly yet, but like I said about Alabama, that was the biggest game of the regular season for us we've had in a while. We had to get that one, otherwise Alabama gets a 2-game lead on us, and we don't think we have any chance to catch them. I thought we played with that urgency. I think Florida will do the same. I think they'll do the same on Saturday. Our math is so good. And the win could mean so much to get them in a way better position as far as being in the tournament is concerned. I think they're good enough. They got great guards that can really score it. Older. They got a huge athletic front line. They're the number 2 offensive rebounding team in the nation. And if you take their home offensive numbers, they're the 7th best offense in the country if it's just at home. So, and yet I think we can go down there, and I think we have a chance. I guess the only thing else that I'd say about where we are right now is obviously coming off the heels of a second half against Ole Miss and 2 halves against Alabama, which are probably the 3 best halves we've played all year. I'm going to go back and remind our guys about what we were like, at Alabama or at Mississippi State or even at Ole Miss in the first half, which weren't very good. The body of our work against the best, on the road is still not very good. It's not good enough to beat Florida unless we really step up. Florida has had an advantage. They've been out all week, which is really interesting. I like the bye. We get one in about a week. But boy, a Wednesday night game and then travel Friday and then play them Saturday when they haven't played since last Saturday. That's quite an advantage. And so anyways, questions?
Bruce, I was going to ask you about just some of those recent games in Gainesville recently, the Mustafa team and Samir and Jabari. Is there anything specific about going down there, or is every game sort of been its own struggle and its own animal?
Yeah, I think every game's been its own challenge. I think our first few years we weren't good enough. Believe it or not, Billy Donovan was still coaching down there. And then we've gone down there a couple times with good enough teams to beat them and haven't been able to. And again, part of it is, I don't know that it'd be hard to check back, but I'm not sure we'd never lost. When we went down there, it wasn't an NCAA tournament team we still lost to. In other words, I don't think we ever lost to a really bad Florida team down there. Right? That's another interesting one from Arlene. She's on the ride to Gainesville, so we'll call her and tell her to get on that research.
Bruce, you mentioned it Wednesday night with Florida's number 2 team in the country in offensive rebounds, and I know that's it's been a big key for you guys on the road, especially, and having that travel. How do you think you guys have kind of stepped up to that in the last couple, especially since the Alabama Mississippi State losses? You've done really well on the boards.
Well, it's been a focus. You know, the film is tough to watch when we have those breakdowns. It doesn't give us, you know, universal. Look, there's a reason why they play 2 7-footers and they're really long. That's the one thing when we walk out there, you know, they're going to be bigger and taller and longer at almost every position. Baker Mazara, Chad will probably be longer than they are. He's longer than almost everybody. But I think the rest of the guys will be our front line. Everybody on our front line they'll be longer, and are clearly our 1s and 2s. So yeah, we recognize what they do. They run good. They're really good offensively. They run really good stuff. Their open corner stuff is really good and hard to guard, and they play with great confidence at home. They shoot the ball from 3 extremely well. They play really fast. And so we got to get back in transition and see if we can get all 5 guys back and have a chance.
As we kind of get into this now more, I guess, longer stretch of Aiden struggling with his 3-point shot. You've obviously had several guards like him, just, you know, shoot a lot of threes. Slumps happen. Like they're really talented players. How do you coach freshmen like that through a struggle?
So I could probably, on one hand, count the number of bad shots Aiden's taken all season. Now he's probably taken more shots than others would think, maybe more than that. But I think it's going in every time he shoots it, even if they're bad shots. That's how great a shooter he is, and that's how hard he works at his shooting. And so he knows that we and he had that confidence in him, and I still want him to, you know, be able to do it. And he's worked so hard at the other aspects of the game where he was behind coming in as a freshman. He's worked so hard to become better defensively and to check out his position and to get our guys into their offense. And he's taken on that responsibility. Look at his assist turnover ratio. And so he'll make shots.
Bruce, obviously, you know, Castleton over the past couple of years was a really consistent big guy for them. Now they've got Samuel, and I know Handlogman was a guy that you were, you know, interested in the portal. What did you like about him in the offseason, and what do you like about what their front court's doing right now, and how Jalen and Janai are going to match up against them?
Yeah, you know, Samuel is one of the most athletic bigs in our league. Again, veteran, older. All their 7-footers are athletic, run the floor, block shots, are inside-outside guys. They're not doing as much on the perimeter of those bigs as I think they thought they would. I think they thought almost all those bigs were going to be real pick-and-pop ready guys. They're pick-and-pop guys now, but they haven't put up those numbers yet, but I think they will. I think their big young guys are all really good prospects, but they're still a little younger as freshmen or sophomores or things like that. Samuel's right, he's ready, and he's obviously bouncy, and they block shots and they tip dunk and they run to the rim and rebound a lot of the misses that 3 or 4 outstanding guards shoot. In a lot of ways, they remind me of Alabama in their guards, but they've just got a little longer front line, and there's some similarities there.
Bill?
You and Todd obviously have a long, great relationship. Just talk about how that plays into pros and cons as you prepare for each other.
It's a great question. It has nothing to do with preparation. Nothing. It just doesn't. I'm no more familiar with what he's doing than anybody else. It's a new year. It's a new personnel. What they're doing now, they did some of last year. So therefore, the preparation is no different. The emotion is probably a little different. 5 minutes before the game and a few minutes after the game, and that's it. I want him to do well. I want Florida basketball to do well, and I want to beat the pants off him on Saturday, and I mean both. But it really has nothing to do with the preparation at all.
Trey, since he's gotten back in the starting lineup, that assist to turnover ratios, done really well. He scored a lot early on. Just how pleased have you been with him kind of taking on that charge, especially early in games?
Well, I mean, I think you got to take what the defense gives you. That's what good guards do. That's what good players do. And so, interestingly, against Trey, Alabama was sort of in a drop coverage, not impacting him, which is not as much about respecting him as that's just how they chose to guard him. Sometimes you change it up. But with Aiden, they hit him every time. They blitzed him every time. They impacted him, which means that they didn't want to give him a chance to shoot the ball. And so you got to take what the defense gives you. Alabama dropped. Trey got into the lane and used his pull-up game and got to the rim and used his athleticism. And it was fun to see Trey play with that kind of confidence. I think the other thing was the focus on the defensive end. Let's not forget, Alabama scored for I think the first 4 or 5 possessions that they played against, they had, and that puts a lot of pressure on your offense. Well, our offense was able to handle it here at home to the tune of 55 points against Alabama in the first half. That's not happening in Gainesville, Florida. It's not. So as a result, our defense better keep us in the game if we have any chance to go down there and make history. Come on.
Just, you mentioned Todd a bit, I guess, and now that he's in his second season in the SEC, I guess, how have you seen him kind of develop as a head coach from when you had him on your staff to where he's at?
Well, I mentioned this yesterday, our staff's doing a terrific job. The scouts have been great. The player development piece, led by Ira Bowman, has been great. The scouting, between Steven and Chad and Mike, obviously Ira, Corey, Maddox, Ian, they've done a nice job. So the reason why I answer the question that way is I remember Todd. He had a really good offensive mind, a great analytical mind, and he was a really good player. I mean, he played point guard at St. Mary's, for one of the best coaches in the country. He then coached at Columbia and at San Francisco as an assistant for a coach at Washington State right now, who's recognized as one of the better coaches out on the West Coast. And he's had great preparation, I think, and he's he's a smart kid, and he's one of the best young coaches in the country.
One more?
Good. All right, next coach.
Thanks, Bruce.